Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever looked around and just felt out of sync? Like everyone else gets things faster or easier, and you secretly start wondering if maybe you're just not that smart? Well, today we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating. What if I told you your brain might actually be hiding a massive IQ right in plain sight? So let's dive right in and totally challenge the traditional view of intelligence. Society loves to tell us that being smart is all about test scores, grades, or how fast you can do mental math. But when we look through the lens of neuroscience, it turns out that a lot of those everyday behaviors we just brush off as weird quirks are actually markers of a highly evolved neurological architecture. We're going to break down 10 specific, subtle signs that your brain is operating on a level most people don't even notice. Section 1. The Metacognitive Engine. This is all about high-speed information processing. Let's kick things off with sign number 1, which completely flips a common stereotype: talking to yourself. We usually think muttering to yourself is, just plain weird. But a University of Wisconsin study actually proved that people who verbalize their thoughts process information faster and retain it way longer. When you talk to yourself, you're literally coaching your own brain through complex reasoning. Einstein did it. So if you ever catch yourself mumbling through a tough problem, hey, congratulations, you're just jump-starting your processor. Sign number 2 is that intense internal monologue. Do you ever just constantly replay conversations, question your past decisions, or imagine like 50 different outcomes for one single scenario? People might label you an anxious overthinker, but neuroscientists call this metacognition. It's the neurological ability to think about your own thinking. So it's not actually anxiety. It's a highly active, pure form of analysis where your brain just refuses to take anything at face value. Which brings us to sign number 3, a highly selective working memory. Look, you might completely forget where you put your keys 5 minutes ago, but somehow you can effortlessly quote a random movie from 2008 or pull up some hyper-specific fact from a documentary you saw years ago. That is your working memory flexing. A high IQ brain selectively holds onto complex, interesting details and just kind of filters out the mundane, repetitive stuff of daily life. So looking at these behaviors, we can see the first real pillar of intelligence, an analytical engine that processes deeply and remembers selectively. You talk to yourself to accelerate, you use metacognition to constantly analyze, and your memory is completely dialed in for complexity. Moving on to Section 2, the brain's reward system. Let's talk about dopamine-driven motivation. Sign number 4 pops up if you absolutely cannot stand repetitive routines. People have probably called you lazy or easily distracted, right? Well, the neuroscience tells a totally different story. Highly intelligent people have a much faster reward prediction system. That means they get way less dopamine from simple, repetitive tasks. Your brain isn't being lazy. It actually just craves novelty and is actively hunting for more complex challenges just to hit that baseline reward feeling. But here's the catch. That dopamine-driven craving for knowledge comes with a really fascinating side effect. Sign number 5 is constant self-doubt. This ties straight into the Dunning-Kruger effect. You've probably noticed that people who don't know much tend to be wildly overconfident. But the flip side is also true. The more knowledge your brain absorbs, the more acutely aware you become of everything you still don't know. It perfectly explains why super smart people constantly doubt themselves. Your vast awareness basically generates self-doubt because you actually understand the sheer complexity of the unknown. And that leads us to sign number 6, active procrastination. This is another trait that gets a really bad rap. Psychologists at the University of Calgary found that high IQ brains simply despise busy work. Instead of just having poor time management, they use what's called active procrastination. Basically, your brain waits until a task truly matters, until the stakes are high enough to actually give you a challenge before going all in at the absolute last minute. You literally perform at your best when the pressure activates that complex reward system. So these 3 traits, a fast dopamine system that gets bored easily, high self-awareness causing doubt, and active procrastination, they prove your motivation system isn't broken at all. It just requires a much higher threshold of meaning, novelty, and pressure to finally kick into gear. All right, Section 3, the sensorium. We're looking at heightened sensory and emotional depth. Have you ever been sitting in a quiet room and felt like you're going crazy because of a ticking clock or someone breathing loudly or just small background noises no one else seems to hear? That is sign number 7, heightened sensory processing. You're not just being irritable. Your brain naturally absorbs a significantly higher volume of environmental data than the average person. It does this to detect patterns faster, but the trade-off is that it can definitely lead to some intense overstimulation. And here's the thing, this sensory depth extends straight to your emotions. which is sign number 8, feeling deeply. This actually surprises a lot of people, but your profound empathy, your ability to truly read others, and those intense emotions you experience, they aren't a weakness, not at all. They are direct evidence of advanced neural sophistication. Highly intelligent people don't just think deeply, they process emotional data with the exact same intensity. Now, because your brain is absorbing so much information all day long, it heavily dictates how you recharge. That brings us to sign number 9, being a night owl. Research out of the London School of Economics shows that highly intelligent people overwhelmingly tend to stay up late. Why is that? Well, when the sun goes down, all those daytime distractions and sensory overloads finally fade away. In that quiet, empty space, your mind can finally wander. And that's precisely when your best creative insights bubble up. You aren't suffering from bad sleep habits, you're just instinctively seeking a distraction-free zone. Wrapping up the sensorium, we've got overstimulation from all that excess data, deep empathy stemming from neural sophistication, and that late-night wandering. This intense, sponge-like absorption of both sensory and emotional data is exactly what provides the raw materials a deeply creative, analytical mind needs to function. Finally, Section 4, continuous evolution. This is the ultimate genius trait. Here we are at our 10th and final sign. Geniuses never stop learning. Even when they absolutely know enough to just get by, highly intelligent minds compulsively read, ask questions, and relentlessly hunt for better answers. They have this fundamental, hardwired drive to understand the why behind everything, which means, honestly, the very fact that you clicked on this explainer today purely to understand yourself and the world a little bit better naturally places you right in that top tier of intelligent minds. All of this leads us to one absolutely crucial realization. True intelligence has nothing to do with grades or test scores. It's about awareness, adaptability, curiosity, and depth of thought. That quote perfectly sums up our neurological tour today. We really need to reframe intelligence away from, how fast you can crunch numbers or memorize a textbook. Real intelligence is holistic. It's your awareness, your adaptability when solving problems, your unquenchable curiosity, and your profound depth of both thought and feeling. So, I wanted to leave you with a quick question to think about. How are you going to view your own quirks from now on? The next time someone tells you that you're too sensitive, too quiet, easily distracted, or just too lost in your own head, I want you to just smile. Because you now know that you aren't broken. You know exactly what the silent architecture of true intelligence actually looks like. Keep learning, keep questioning, and for sure, embrace how your brilliant mind works. Thanks for tuning in.